Welcome to Revivalcycles Tech Talk. I'm Stefan, and in this episode we are talking about the flexible turn brake LED taillight. So the turn brake LED taillight, that's this little guy right here. And this is a pretty cool little device that is able to give you the taillight, brake light, and turn signal functionality in one small, very discrete package. These have a whole big array of LEDs. Some of them are amber, some of them are red, and you can get these in different configurations. Of course, all that stuff is posted on our website at revivalcycles.com, and you can look through and figure out exactly what's going to work for you there in different lengths. Some of them have the turn signal, some of them don't. Whatever makes sense for your application, that's what you want to go with. Now, what we really wanted to do is show you how this thing works and how to install it. So just an overview of what this is. Obviously, a bunch of LEDs inside this little strip. There's an adhesive on the back. This is a double-sided adhesive. Right now it's got the red protective film over it. We'll take that off in a minute, but right now it will be sticky. And then there's a whole mess of wires that come out the other end. On this one, because we do have the turn signals integrated on the side, we've got 4 wires. So we've got a black, that's probably ground, red, I'm going to guess that's a tail light, or the red lights through the middle, that's going to be our stop and tail light. And then we've got a yellow and a blue, and those are going to be the side markers or the turn indicators. So what I really want to show you is how to install this. We've learned a few tricks because we've installed these on some of our customs. So we'll move on to that. All right, to install it, I don't have a bike in front of me on this bench, but what I did is I went and stole one of Andy's dollies from his metal shaping shop, and he's probably going to be pissed off at me in the morning because he'll find that there's a taillight stuck to it. So what I'm going to do is actually remove this red film, and that exposes the double-sided sticky on the back, and I'm going to stick this on the side. And since this is just a demonstration, like a lot of our demonstrations, it's a little bit half-assed, and I'm going to have the wires just kind of dangling off the edge here. On your installation, I hope you're taking a bit more care with what you're doing, and you should have a hole that those go through. Now I'm going to add just an ordinary old spring clamp, and I'm going to grab that on the end where the light has a little bit of extra stiffness. There's a little bit of a plastic insert, and that's going to help support so it doesn't just crush this clear plastic tube. Now, in order to get this to follow the corner without trying to pull away all the time, I'm going to use a heat gun, and that's going to soften this plastic tube, and that's going to let it take the shape of the part we're trying to mate it to. And that's really important. If you try and install this without heating this up and letting it form to your component, it's going to pull the plastic, or it's going to pull the adhesive. The double-sided tape is just going to give up after a couple of days, maybe a week, and nobody likes that. So we bring in our handy heat gun, and I'm going to use this to warm up the tube and just use a little bit of pressure to help form this around the other side, keeping that adhesive tacked down. And dial in a little more heat. And now I can feel that this tubing is starting to soften. And you can even see now when I go push on it, it's very soft to the touch. And I want to make sure that I get this heated all the way through. And that feels about right. Now, I chose this dolly in particular because it seems to replicate the tail loop on a lot of the bikes out there. And now I've got one more clamp that I can bring back in. That's going to hold that other end. And now, just a quick little squeeze. We can let that cool off, and as it cools off, it's going to kind of solidify. The plastic has adjusted itself, basically molded to this configuration. We'll give that just a moment to settle down, get this out of the way, and then I can show you how to wire it up. Now, wiring this up, we talked a little earlier that there were 4 wires that come out of this, and if you think about it, you've got a brake light, a tail light, a turn signal, and a right turn signal and a left turn signal. So that's 4 wires right there, and then a ground, of course. Now that's 5, but we only had 4 coming out of here. That means we only have control of the center section of red, and that's in a single filament configuration. If you're using an M unit, that's no problem. You just set up for a 1-wire tail light, and that will automatically do the pulse width modulation. But let's say you're installing this on a bike that doesn't have an M unit. That means you want to use this handy little adapter. This is called a dual filament adapter. If you want, you can make one of these. It's really not that difficult. You got 2 wires on one side, 1 wire on the other side, and in the middle underneath that heat shrink, there's just a resistor. This red wire, I'm going to guess, just passes straight through, and that's going to be your brake light. And then this orange wire, I'm guessing again, will connect to the resistor. That resistor is going to reduce the amount of power going through, and so when you connect your tail light to the orange wire, it gives less power to the array, therefore it's not as bright. So let's see if this actually works the way we think. One last thing I'm going to need is a battery. Right back. All right, battery. This is just one of the little 4-cell anti-gravities. It works great for a demonstration like this, and if you don't have an electric start on your bike, this is really all you need for almost any application. This should be, and is, cooled down enough that we can remove our clamps, make it a little bit easier to access our wires. And let's peel these out of the loom. Get them back here where I can work on them. All right, so we've got a red and a black wire here, which, as we discussed earlier, the black is our ground, and we can go ahead and connect that to our negative terminal. And like a lot of these demonstrations, I'm going to do this in a very half-assed fashion where I just kind of twist the end and sort of finger tight that down to the terminal. Now, we've got our red wire here, and just so I can demonstrate what this dual filament adapter does, let's connect to the single wire to the red wire. So we've got red wire going to red wire, which is always a good plan. Usually the colors make sense and match up across the system, especially reds and blacks. All right, now we've got these other 2 ends that if I tap to the red, that lights up, and if I tap the other one, it lights up. Now that's not as bright. If I tap both of them at the same time, we'll get the full brake light effect. And again, the orange is the tail light and red is the brake light. Simple as that. This little gizmo, like I said, very elementary, easy to install, and it makes wiring in a dual filament setup with an LED very simple. This does also work with other LED formats, but the resistance can change, so your kind of transition from tail light to brake light can be off. These are sized specifically for the number of LEDs in these flexible arrays. All right, that part's easy. Now let's see, what do these turn signals look like? I have no idea which end is which is left or right, which is up or down, so I'm just going to guess on this blue wire here and see which one that is. That's this side. Some of these are set up with amber turn indicators, some of them are set up with red indicators. Now if you're using the red indicators, you can also combine these with a tail light turn signal modulator, and that will allow you to have your tail lights and turn signals lit all the time and have your turn indicators also participate in the brake light tail light operation, and then when you do need a turn signal, it will also modulate to that. Unfortunately, the current V2 M unit is not very good at handling that kind of complex algorithm, so you do need a proper turn tail light modulator. So let's see what this looks like with all of this stuff tied together, both turn signals, tail light, and everything. There we go. Lots of light, plenty to be seen, and this installation is more or less complete. Too bad there's not a motorcycle to go with it. That's the flexible turn and brake tail light assembly, and if you're interested in getting one for yourself, you can find it at revivalcycles.com. If you want to follow our shenanigans, check us out on Instagram, Revivalcycles, and follow our YouTube page so you can keep up with all the new products that we're launching. Thanks for watching.